Romeo loved Juliet, and Juliet, she felt the same. When he put his arms around her, he said, Julie, baby, you're my flame, thou givest fever in the morning, and fever when you hold me tight. Fever when you kiss me, and fever all through the night. Captain Smith and Pocahontas, they had a very mad affair. When her daddy tried to kill him, she said, Daddy, oh, don't you dare. He gives me fever when he kisses, fever when he holds me tight. Fever, I'm his missus. Daddy, won't you treat him right? Everybody's got the fever. This is something we all learn. Fever isn't such a new thing. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, this is the ghetto. Yeah, baby. Don't you know it's alright? Oh yeah. Showing up down.
the string around my finger. What world, what life. Ooh, I'm in love. I've got a song that I sing. I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me, can't you see? I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing. As long as I've got hold of that string, I'd be a silly so and so if I should ever let go. I got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. Lucky me, can't you see? Can't you see? Can't you see? I'm in love.
Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis and Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Boston, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Come on and get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66.
Good evening. Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have you here with us to our very first full season launch. It's a great pleasure and privilege to have you all here. To all of you, our friends across the various platforms of the media, our partners and all our associates who help us do what we do best. Welcome to the Fugard rooftop on this beautiful spring day. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And hello to everybody who's joined us live on the web. Hi, Mom. A special welcome to Hicho Tiart, who's here somewhere. He's just snuck in. Very good. And to Ken Forrester, who's joined us, both of whom we're partnering with next year. It's great to have you both here. And then a massive thank you to all of the Fugard Theatre staff who keep rising to every occasion. It's a pleasure and a privilege to work with all of you. Both Eric and I are incredibly excited for the season which Greg has put together for us. I believe he's offered a balanced, reflective, and enthralling season for all sorts of people to come and enjoy with us through the course of next year. The announcement of our first full season happens to coincide with our 10th birthday, which we'll be celebrating in 2020. Who would have thought that 10 years ago we'd be standing here celebrating this moment? Eric Abraham is a unique patron of the arts in South Africa and indeed across the world. His unflinching determination to see the Fugard flourish in times when it's most needed really is inspiring to all of us. And I thank him for providing and enabling the space where we get to do what we do every day. You are all very welcome here today. There are drinks, help yourselves as we go. It's a pleasure to have you with us. It is my additional pleasure to introduce to you our brilliant theatre manager and my co-producer, Lemise Albertus.
Thank you. Thank you again to everyone for being here. Thank you to Aki, David, and Eastern Acoustics for their technical support this evening. 9 years ago today, I received a call from Daniel Stix Galloway asking me to join his small new team at the Fugard. He couldn't confirm what exactly I would be doing, but I would be a part of something completely new. Something I would later find out would develop far beyond what I had ever anticipated. When I reflect back, I am overwhelmed by highlights of amazing experiences, lifelong lessons, and friendships. Being with the Fugard for the past 9 years has allowed me the absolute privilege of being on the front line of many firsts that would go on to lay the foundation for the Fugard, cementing its place in the arts in South Africa and in the world. Our very first musical, Cat and the Kings, a first of many wonderful productions we would go on to do with musical legend David Kramer. Our first large-scale out-of-house production, West Side Story, which played to sold-out houses at Artscape Theatre. Our first production with Athol Fugard himself, The Birdwatchers, the start of a wonderful relationship and friendship. Our first writer-in-residence, Louis Viljoen, who has presented works at the Fugard and various other theatres. Our first international transfer, a human being died that night, with the incredibly talented Noma Dumezweni. Our first cinema season, which has over the years developed into a weekly highlight at the Fugard Biscope. Presenting the first South African jazz musical, King Kong, with a team of incredibly talented local, international creatives and local artists. Our first internship program, seeing young talent develop and grow and go on to create their own work. Our first audience development program, enabling kids and young adults from Gugulethu, Langa, Kensington, and more weekly access to the theatre to see a variety of works on offer. For me, it's these and many more firsts that remind me daily that the Fugard is a beacon of endless possibility. I'm often asked what it's like to be a woman of colour or a woman in the arts, and I can honestly say that if I based my career in the arts on the past 9 years at the Fugard, it has been one hell of a wonderful ride. I've had the most wonderful and life-changing experiences, constantly empowering me and the many people I work with. It may not be a reflection of women in the arts in the country in general, but it has been my experience every day at the Fugard. When a place, and particularly its founder, celebrates and practices a common humanity so loudly and proudly, it encourages us all to do the same. The past 9 years at the Fugard has been a roller coaster of growth and development. It is hard to put into words what founder Eric Abraham has enabled here and what the Fugard team have come together to build and create. But if the past 9 years are anything to go on, I cannot wait to be a part of the next 9. There will be some further announcements later this year of some more exciting collaborations with our wonderful friends at the RSC and the like. But before I say more than I should, let me hand you over to the Fugard Theatre's newly appointed and very first Artistic Director, Greg Karvellas.
Thank you so much, Lemise and Dan. I should have stood there, not there. That was a long walk. I'm thrilled you are all here for this special occasion. As Lemise has pointed out, there are a lot of firsts happening, and there are a lot of firsts coming down the line. I'm really glad that I get to share some of those with you. Just from me, I'd like to welcome Ken Forrester and Kakan Kahichu. Lovely to have you guys with us here. Very excited to be traveling a road with you guys. In February 2020, the Fugard will turn 10 years old, marking a defining moment in the history and the future of the Fugard. In the last decade, the Fugard has become synonymous with world-class theatre, consistently offering South African audiences only the very best in local and international theatre. So why 10 years and counting? Theatre artists, theatre makers, and all who create spaces for work to happen in our beautiful country work tirelessly to secure audiences, support, and sustainability. And when planning this season and thinking about all the incredible resource our founding producer Eric Abram has put into the industry and how hard the team here have worked over the years, it struck me that while we celebrate a decade of excellence at the Fugard Theatre and look back at all the fantastic work that's happened, we have to remind ourselves that the clock is ticking. It's always ticking, and that in order to achieve sustainability, we need to redouble our efforts, both at the Fugard and in the arts industry, to keep it alive. It's a double-edged sword, achievement and survival all in one. To me, I find that both exciting, fulfilling, and equally terrifying. But on to the fun stuff. I thought I'd sort of do it down and then go for an upper. Dramatic. Without any further ado, and our wonderful media team have created an incredible presentation, I'd like to present to you, with my great honors, the first appointed artistic director, our 2020 season, 10 years and counting. Great, thank you. Exciting stuff. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes just to talk you guys through what's on offer, give you some context of each of the productions. I know it's chilly, so I won't take too long, or maybe I will. So first up, we've got Kinky Boots. It's been hugely successful for us. We're so proud of it. We've taken a big international musical and put it into our beautiful 320-seater. We've decided to extend it one final time to the 2nd of February to see us through the festive season. It's a production we are so enormously proud of, especially with all the local talent involved. And it just goes to show once again how the Fugard manages to pack very big things into very small spaces and entertain the audiences. On top of that, I just want to announce we've got a New Year's Eve event called Beyond Kinky, where we'll be doing a show of Kinky Boots, and then we've got to have a Beyond Kinky party afterwards in our studio theatre. So seats are limited for that one, so if you want to come, book now. Next up is one quite close to my heart, is our Fugard Bioscope season, which is now sponsored by Ken Forrester, which we're hugely grateful for. It's something that I took on board. I started in the bar and slowly worked my way up to production manager. And part of that, I started curating the season. I took it over from Dan Galloway, who's the general manager at that point. And it's now in its 9th year. And we've traditionally screened on Sundays, and I've now decided to move it to Mondays. And the reason I've done that is because there are so many beautiful titles out there that exceed the 3.5-hour duration. And because we're a theatre and we do matinees on a Sunday, I decided to shift it onto a Monday so that we can offer bigger, longer titles and as well as more. So we've got 47 titles and counting. I've got a few more that I'm going to announce later on in the year. And screenings will happen at 3 at 7 p.m., which is a great way to beat the traffic. And it's a great way to spend a Monday evening where traditionally there isn't much going on in terms of theatre. Ballet, opera, dance, theatre. We've got a little bit of cinema woven in there. We've got really, really exciting titles, and there's something for everybody. And I'm hugely proud of it. I mean, 47, that's huge, if I may say so myself. The next production is Master Harold and the Boys. This is going to be in our studio theatre from February the 4th. This will be our 10th birthday production. This is the one that will really be our flagship and be the one that we do as a celebration, both of Athol Fugard, one of our most important playwrights, our namesake, and also because Athol's work is so incredibly relevant and important still today. I'm really lucky to have been able to direct 2 of his productions. I will direct this production as well. And I think it is just so apt that 10 years on in our history, 25, 26 years on in our history, there are a lot of things that still need to be looked at in South Africa. And there are a lot of themes and ideas and questions that still need to be answered in that work. So that'll form the main production in our studio for our 10th birthday, which we're very excited about. Then we've got Pieter-Dirk Uys, one of our favorites, one of all of your favorites, I'm sure, coming to do Never Too Naked. He'll be doing that in our studio theatre from the 24th of May. Bambi Kellerman, I don't know if you've met her. She's the estranged sister of Evita, and she's a handful, let me tell you. I've known her for a while. Early on in my career at the Intimate Theatre, I stage managed her show for a year, every Sunday. And she is something else. To give you a little taste, I thought I would just read the quote that she provided for her show. "Bring your own condoms of prejudice and fear. You have been warned. Now lie back and enjoy it." So that gives you a little taste of Bambi Kellerman. But we're hugely excited to have Peter with us again. And that'll be straight after Master Harold and the Boys in our studio theatre. Then one of the firsts that Lemise was talking about, and one of our South African premieres, we're going to be doing a production called It's Only a Play. This is the very first farce that the Fugard will have done. Fought hard for that one. Comedy is something that's quite close to my heart, and I think as much as we need to be asking ourselves difficult questions, we also want to laugh. And It's Only a Play really does offer us that, especially for everybody here. It's a real sort of dissection of the neuroses that comes with working in theatre. And it's going to show audiences what it's like both on and off stage. It's a play that was written by Terence McNally. It's did very, very well on Broadway, and we're really excited to be able to be doing the very first South African production of that. Wonderful South African cast. That announcement's going to be done soon, so keep your eyes out for that. The next 2 shows I want to talk about are really important to me, and it's something that as artistic director I'm really going to be pushing for more and more and more. And along with Dan and Eric and Lemise is new work, new South African work. New South African work that can have a life here, and that can have a life overseas, and can have a life wherever people need to hear these stories. For 2020, we have 2 new works. The first one is written by our wonderful Mr. Mike van Graan, and it is entitled What We Wish For, and it will be in our studio theatre from the 1st of November. That's wrong. May 2020. Thank you, Daniel. and is going to be directed by the wonderful, wonderful Amy Jephta, who is here with us this evening. This is a tricky one. Mike has decided to tackle a topic that I think is going to split an audience 3 ways, 4 ways, and maybe 6 ways. And it's around the topic of assisted suicide and who gets to decide about their life or the life of a family member who maybe is not able to make that decision. I've read, we're now on to the 3rd draft, and it is a really beautifully but very difficult play, and I'm really excited to have that on our studio stage. The next production we will have is written by Nadia Davids. It's entitled Hold Still. This play opens the discussion around a young refugee, fictional, right, Nadia? Who has asylum status in the UK, and he's about to turn 18, which means that's going to get revoked and he's going to get sent back. And it's on the eve of his 18th birthday, and he's faced with having to be sent back. His best friend, who's a UK resident, and the 2 parents then have to decide if they're going to basically hide him or send him home, possibly to death. Who knows? They don't know. It's an uncertain future. This is one I'm also equally very excited about just because of where we are in the world. I mean, there are big discussions about who belongs where, and I'm really excited to present that. Director TBC. I wasn't going to tell you that, but I'm telling it to you now. The next one is another one I've been pushing for about 2 years now before I became artistic director, and that's Hamlet, our very, very first Shakespeare production. I've been very open that Shakespeare is not something that I have always connected to, but I totally understand. And having directed Shakespeare in Love, which is like Shakespeare light, I did a lot of research and realized that Shakespeare does not happen a lot in South Africa. It's very hard to do. These are big productions, but it's important work. And thankfully, I managed to convince Eric and Daniel to allow us to do a Shakespeare. So we're doing Hamlet. Neil Coppen will be directing it for us. Very, very exciting. I think a lot of people here know Neil's work. And I think he's going to offer a pretty explosive version of one of the most produced plays by Shakespeare. So that happens in July. That'll be part of our winter programming. Our next production is A German Life. This is another South African premiere. I'm sure a lot of you know that Maggie Smith was in it. They recently produced it in London. And this is a production that I'm very excited with because of the story, because of the questions it asks, and equally because we're going to be producing it with our wonderful friends at the Car, who we did a wonderful production, if I may say so myself, of Statements After Arrest under the Immorality Act at the festival. And they've come on board, arms open, ready to produce this production with us. So very, very excited. Excited to have Sylvaine Strike directing it and Antoinette Kellerman in the role. So do watch out for that one. Just to give you a little bit about it, around the story, it's based on the testimony of Brunhilde Pomsel, who was the secretary to Joseph Goebbels, who, as we all know, was the minister of Nazi propaganda. And in 2016, some Austrian documentary makers actually filmed her, and she broke her silence about that experience, about what it was like to go through that. And they caught her just before she died. And Christopher Hampton, the wonderful Christopher Hampton, who's a great friend of ours, then adapted that documentary into a one-woman show. So that'll be in our studio theatre from July 28th. So do watch out for that one. Next up, we have Night Mother. Night Mother is the Pulitzer Prize-winning play written by Marsha Norman. It's going to star Emily Child and Fiona Ramsey, and it's going to be directed by Janna Ramos-Violante, and that's going to open in our studio in September 22. This is a tough one. This is about suicide. It's about a woman who has decided that she doesn't want to live her life anymore. There's nothing left for her, and she tells her mother that at the end of the evening, she's going to pack up the house and she's going to commit suicide. And it's a story about a mother trying to convince her daughter not to do it. It poses a question: what would you do if someone you loved sat you down one night and calmly told you that they were going to end their life before the morning? And how would you cope with that? There's a lot of stuff around there, around depression, around mental health issues. So really, really beautiful production, and I think we'll do very well in our studio. To end off our main theatre programming, one that I'm hugely excited about, not just because I'm directing it, is Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein is a musical based on the 1974 movie made famous by Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder. It is crazy. It is huge fun, big show tunes. It's a complete rip-off of the Frankenstein movies, and it's going to be a really good end-of-year affair and lots of fun for the whole family. We're opening it on the 27th of October, just in time for Halloween, because that's a South African thing now, apparently. And yeah, it'll feature an all South African cast, and is going to be a huge amount of fun through the festive season. And then finally, Pieter-Dirk Uys returns. He came and saw me a couple of months ago, and he said, Greg, I'm turning 75 in 2020, and I want to do something to celebrate my birthday, and I want to do it at the Fugard. And I said, great, what is it? He said, I want to do 10 plays in 10 days. So I want to do a play on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I want to do all 5 on the Saturday back to back. And then the second week, I want to do another 5, and then I want to do... And I said, okay, that's crazy, let's do it. So we're doing it. So Pieter-Dirk Uys will be celebrating his 75th birthday with us, and I think it's so special because it's in our birthday year as well. And he's going to be doing, in week 1, Echo of a Noise, Tannie Vita Praat Cactus, Adapt or Fly, Oma or Savania Praat Fail, Bambi Sings the FRK Songs, that's the show I worked on. Then on the Saturday, he'll do all 5 back-to-back. And then in week 2, he'll do Weerklank van die Wanklank, An Evening with Vita Bezuidenhout, An Audience with Pieter-Dirk Uys, Never Too Naked, and When in Doubt, Say Darling. And please God, he is standing after that. So that is our 2020 season at the Fugard Theatre. I know it's a lot of information that I've thrown at you. Trust me, it took me long to write this, but I think you've all been given USB credit card sticks, so all the information you need is on there. And of course, our website and our Facebook page are a huge resource. So please, when in doubt, go there. Say darling, exactly. I want to extend a huge thank you to the Fugard team. You guys have created a beautiful, beautiful evening for us. A lot of work has gone into this. James and Claude in the media department who have spent hours creating everything that's on your flash disk. The producing team for supporting me and for backing me and for helping me pull the season together. To the production staff that have got a huge amount of work down the line, but that never say no and are always ready to go with the crazy ideas. To the bar guys for always being fantastic hosts. And to everybody at the Fugard Theatre, thank you so much. I cannot wait for this first season, and I can now go and start planning 2021. In fact, that's what Dan said. Dan said, now you've got to go and do 2021, so I will go and do it. So that's it. End of speeches. Please stick around. I'd love to meet you all. Please have some wine. Please have some food, snacks. I know it's getting cold, but, you know, just eat. Or if you're really cold, go downstairs to the foyer. Great. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Like a wind song, 'cause you're the song in my life, like a sweet familiar harmony, and the shadows fade away from shades of blue and